Can dua change qadr? The Prophet ﷺ said, لا يرد القضاء إلا الدعاء. This is out of hope, to give hope for people. Nothing repels bad things from happening except dua. So the ulama now, they discuss this. And they brought another hadith from the Prophet. لا يزال دعاء المؤمن والقدر يعتلجان في السماء إلى يوم القيامة. So we ask the question, first we have to ask, how can anything repel the will of Allah? The answer is, it can change. Allah Ta'ala will command the angel to change what's written. That's one answer. The second answer is that your dua will make a blockage. Just like you created a roof for yourself when it's raining. There's qada, that it will rain. You're walking in the street and someone tells you it's going to rain. Immediately you think, I'm going to get wet. Unless you pull out an umbrella, right? Or unless you go under a roof, or you build for yourself a tent. So ad-du'a is likewise. So the qada has come. It didn't change. It did come. But your dua made the impact of it less. So your qada was to have a car accident in which you would have 10 broken bones. You end up with a bruise, a sore neck. Had a dua. How many times does dua really save a person? It's unbelievable, right? So it could be just a scare. I got the scare of cancer, but it wasn't cancer. Just the scare itself is part of the tribulation. So that's the two answers to the idea of dua repelling qada and qadr. Fulfill the requisites of marriage, like build it and they will come. What is the requisites of marriage? You have a religious obligation in marriage to open a new home, open the home, basically. You have to be able to pay the rent. You have to be able to have a roof over there. So that's one of your religious obligations. You have, I guess, socially and personally, we could say, mental maturity, right? Thirdly, learn your religious obligations in marriage, okay? Have people who could vouch for you is another thing. Because when you approach a woman, her dad or her wali will say, who can vouch for you? Who are your friends? Who are your companions? If you're a solitary person, you won't have anyone to vouch for you. Build it. Build those things, and marriage will naturally come after that. Then expose yourself to good people. It's not exactly, I meant to say, what the Habaib said, يتعرض, right? يتعرض إلى. Make yourself in the presence of people who would know good people. Sometimes the translation goes wrong really bad, right? Yeah. Well, because the Habaib always say this wonderful thing, that يتعرض إلى رحمات الله نفحات الله يتعرض. That's what I meant to say. But put yourself in the position to be seen by good people, meaning in the masajid. Good people will see you in classes of fiqh or tajweed or in Islamic organizations. So therefore you're exposed socially to people who will say, oh, that's a good guy, he's single. That's how people get married. By being present in those areas, a light bulb is going to go off. Okay, this guy, he's healthy, he has a job, he's acceptable appearance. Why isn't he married? I got so-and-so, I got a cousin, I got a friend, I got a sister. That's how it works. Nobody is harmed at all, suffers even a prick of pain, except they're compensated for that. In some other way, that pain is lifted from them, right? In this life or in the next life. Some people even said that the compensation of the kafir who suffered pain in this world is that his death may actually be easier. Death may be easier for that person. But then again, on the Yawm al-Qiyamah, they're going to go and suffer the consequences of their disbelief. And again, that is a disbeliever who received the message and rejected it. All right, let's read here. He says, وقال الضحاك عن ابن عباس نون آخر حروف من حروف الرحمن. Ibn Abbas noted that noon is the last letter of the word ar-Rahman. So he said here, if you notice, the muqatta'at, the cut up letters, and for those who don't know what that means, 29 chapters of the Quran. It's 29, right? Muqatta'at, 29? 29. Double check how many surahs have muqatta'at. The muqatta'at, certain surahs of the Quran begin with letters, not words, just a letter. So he notes here that there is Alif Lam Ra, Hamim, and Nun. It's 29 surahs, right? 29 surahs begin with letters. Just letters. Some of them, sometimes one letter, sometimes two letters, sometimes three letters, sometimes four letters, sometimes five letters. Right? No six. Five is the max. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And sometimes they're broken up between verses. For example, Surah Al-Shura, Hamim, Ayn Sin Qaf. However, Surah Al-Kahf, Kaf Ha Ya Ayn Sad, all 5 in one verse. Surah Al-Shura, 5, but broken up in 2 verses. Here you have a note from that Ibn Abbas noted here that Alif Lam Ra opens one of the surahs. Hamim opens one of the surahs. Noon opens one of the surahs. And that forms the word Ar-Rahman. The rahmah of Allah Ta'ala, Allah knows best, would be found in reading the surah that begins with Alif Lam Ra, the surahs that begin with Hamim, and the surah begins with Noon. Right?
Is that the last surah with Muqatta'at?
No. Oh, is it? It is.
And the first is
Alif. So therefore, he's saying that Noon ends, is the last surah with Muqatta'at, and it is the last letter of Ar-Rahman. Now, when we talk about ta'wil, right? Alif Lam Ra, these are ayat of Quran, and there are major ta'wilats. Every tafsir has a lot of ta'wilat on the Muqatta'at. But the key is to recognize that it's speculation. We're saying possibly. Nobody's saying that for sure, definitely. This is the meaning. That's the difference. Okay. So he then says, Ar-Rahmanu ta'ala mutaqatti'ah. Alif Lam Ra, Hamim, Nun. وقال ابن زيد وهو قسم. It's an oath that Allah swore by. Ibn Kaysan says, فاتحة السورة وقيل اسم السورة وقال عطاء وأبو العالية افتتاح اسمه نصير ونور وناصر. Many of the ta'wilat refer to the names of Allah Ta'ala in connection with these muqatta'at. So for example, Alif Lam Mim, Allahu Latifun Majid. Again, speculation. Here he says Noon, Nasir wa Nur, a victor and a light. Muhammad ibn Ka'b, it's an oath that Allah Ta'ala swore that he would give victory to the believers. So Noon for Nasir, and it's Allah's oath. Okay. بيانه قوله تعالى وكان حقا علينا نصر المؤمنين. And this is the title of today's stream. Allah has obligated upon himself to give victory to the mu'mineen. So let's ask the question though. But we see many Muslims failing. Many believers don't have victory. That's a very good question. And the answer is, it says here, al-mu'mineen, plural. That means when there is a group of believers, all band together, and they seek out an objective, Allah gives them victory. As long as their iman, they're standing up for their iman. However, the individual may have victory and may have martyrdom. And he wants victory, but when he receives martyrdom, he realizes that's better. So it's always a win. You're winning either way. وقال جعفر الصادق نون نهر من أنهار الجنة. It's a river from paradise. إن في الجنة نهر من لبن. I just said that. It's not in the tafsir. Yeah. Because there's a famous qasida about the rivers of paradise for Hassan and Hussein. And because we're supposed to love Hassan and Hussein, and you have to love Ahlul Bayt. And if someone wants to know why you have to love Ahlul Bayt, say, do you have to love your grandparents? Do you have to love your parents? Why do you have to love your parents? They gave birth to me. Okay, but did they try to give birth to you? They didn't know who you were, right? Your father was just fulfilling his desire. Maybe or maybe not your mom wanted a kid. You ended up coming out here. They did not know you, right? They didn't intend you. They intended to have a kid, right? So it's an accidental in this world, right? In the Hukm Adi, it's just accident. It's not something they tried to have you. They would have been pleased with any kid. probably maybe more pleased than to have another kid than you, right? Most parents, ask any parent that has 17-year-olds, you want to do a trade-in, right? You want to rewind and do a trade? It's pretty cruel, right? But if someone says, actually, hold on, actually an angel has come down, you rewind and trade your kids, right? Listen, we'd all be trading each other. I wouldn't trade any of my kids, right? But most people would. So why should you therefore love your kid and love your parents? So likewise, your prophet is more important to you than your parents. Your parents bring you the dunya by accident and by obligation. The prophet is giving you your deen. And your deen is what gives happiness to your dunya. Our dunya is messed up without a deen. If you think that people without deen are happier than people with a deen, you're making a big mistake. It's an illusion and a mirage. Yes, they have pleasures, but what do those pleasures lead to? They lead to problems. We have pleasures too, but it's like electricity in the house in a restricted pipe, so that doesn't bring us problems. We want electricity, they want electricity. We want fire in our ovens and stove, they want fire. We want hot water, they want hot water. But their boiler's leaking, the electricity is live wires, the fire's all over the place. So they have all that with no restriction, but it leads to major problems. We Muslims want the same pleasures as them. But it's done right, so the house doesn't burn down. So we have all of our pleasures in a very restricted or set properly. Well, actually, when it's set properly, you actually have more. It looks like you have less because the access to it is hard, but you end up having more. I don't hate to be crude, but a married Muslim man I hate to be crude, but I just want to say this for the sake of it. A married Muslim man will have more intimate relations and work less for it than a regular guy who goes to the club and he's got to work for it. B, it's not predictable. C, it comes with diseases. 4, it's not with love. It's just there's no love in it. And she's going to another guy tomorrow, and you're going to another woman the next day after that. And these guys, okay, what happens when you're no longer competitive in the club? At what age are you not competitive in the club, right? There's going to be a certain age where you can't compete anymore, right? Are you done? But a Muslim man, it doesn't have that problem. They don't have that problem. So it may look like it's more restrictive, but in fact, it's not. Allah Ta'ala always gives more when things are done halal than when they're done in the haram. And I know that's a crude example to give, but it is an important example to give because this is something a lot of people think about when they're 18, 20. They're like, okay, why these restrictions? Restrictions in your favor, because there's going to come a time where you even if you wanted to do it in the haram, you couldn't, let alone all the problems and all the STDs you're going to get. And then on top of that, she doesn't even love you. You're chasing after something. You're working hard. He goes out to the club, works hard, finally gets what he desires, and that person doesn't even love him. So
أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما